we're doing the wrong thing. Instead of talking about policy, we need to be doing something completely different from what we're doing, but very similar to what the Republicans have been doing for the last 30, 40 years. Okay? We don't have all the answers, apparently, because they keep winning elections. So what are they doing that we're not doing? Their policies are morally corrupt. Their policies are anti-American. Not just anti-American, they are anti-social in the most profound meaning of that word. Lakoff proposes that each of us carries within us two models of the human family. And we use our models of the human family to represent government. So you hear David Brooks talking about the daddy state and the mommy state. These two family models that Lakoff talks about are the strict father model, S-T-R-I-C-T, father, versus the nurturant parent model. This is shorthand for a set of moral precepts. What goes on in a strict father model? I know that you know if your father ever said to you, I'll give you something to cry about. Or if your mother ever said to you, wait till your father gets home. What goes on in a strict father model family is a hierarchical situation. The father runs the family. He is the patriarch, and yes, that is the noun from which the subsequent noun patriarchy comes from. Okay, so in the strict father model, the father is the ultimate authority. What he says goes. These are his jobs. He is to tell his wife what to do because she doesn't know. She's a female, she's weak, she's probably not terribly disciplined. If he's not there to tell her what to do, God only knows what will happen. Riot, run large, the children, the house, So good thing he's there, because he's going to tell her what to do. He is also responsible for instilling discipline, what an important word, discipline into his children. In fact, this is his main job with regard to his children, is to instill in them discipline. And in this model, this strict father, patriarchal, hierarchical model, discipline is instilled by punishment. And it's quite clear that on the conservative side, child rearing, the installation of discipline, is to be accomplished by physical force. You are supposed to hit your kids. In fact, you should probably hit your wife if she's stepping out of line. So hitting, violence, punishment, physical punishment, painful physical punishment is what that model is reliant on when it comes to child rearing. The big guy in conservative child rearing is James Dobson, who was recently, the book is Dare to Discipline, sold millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of copies. And he recently amended his position on physical discipline of children. This is spanking, this is hitting. He recommends a paddle, a belt, a physical object with which to hit your family members. Says that maybe you shouldn't do that prior to when a child is 14 or 15 months old. Yeah. Millions and millions and millions of copies. Millions and millions and millions of copies of that morally corrupt idea out there. This is us. Yeah. We're the good people. Give us a hand. We're the good people. We are the nurturing parents, are we not? We can see the possibility that a family could be run by a woman. two men, and you see how this attacks the fundamental moral structure of the conservatives of this country. Because without the father, with two fathers, with no father, with two mothers, put them right in the cardiac arrest. And that's why they're so opposed to gay marriage, for example. So what does a nurturing household look like? Everybody participates. This is a democratic model of how to raise a family, right? And so the objective of child rearing in the nurturing parent model is to raise children who are responsible for themselves, responsible to others, and responsible for others, able to take, willing to take responsibility for other people, for the well-being of people that they may not even know. Raised right, those nurturing parent kids are empathetic. They can imagine themselves in someone else's position. They can imagine what it feels like to be someone else. They are empathetic. They are responsible, and responsible about carrying out that empathy. So you have the whole chain. You feel with the other person, you take care of yourself, you take care of the other person, and we all go forward together. What does punishment look like in a nurturing parent? If the most valuable thing is nurturance, empathy, coming together, what is the punishment? The punishment is you don't get to be with us for a while. You'll be in a timeout. Or you don't get to be with your friends, you'll be grounded. But we don't hit in this family. We don't hit. So the punishment is temporary exclusion from inclusion. And that is understood to be punishment. It feels like punishment, doesn't it? But it doesn't exactly hurt. And there aren't any welts, no cuts, no bruises. So the fact is, incredibly, that all of us pretty much have both models resonant in our way of looking at the world. So what this means is, all we have to do is to help people go from activating this model, when you're talking about politics, to activating this model. Now you're asking yourself, possibly, when is supper? Or maybe you're asking, why doesn't it work for us to just present the facts? Because the facts tell the story. Pick any statistic you want out of the last 30 years. The last 30 years, pick any statistic you'd like to have that's on our side, which they all are. And the unfortunate nature of our brains is that if the fact that you present to someone appears in that person's mind in the context of one or the other of these family models for government, right? We project this onto government. Could I explain that? If the fact I present to you is there are 6 million Hispanic children in poverty and only 5 million white children and only 4 million black children. And we should do something about this. If you've got the strict father model operating, you're like, well, I don't care about that. They're not my family. I'm in it for me. My responsibility is to the whole, is to do the best I can for myself. So those people don't mean anything to me. Not only does the individual who's operating on this model reject the moral demand that statistic makes, that person rejects the statistic. Rejects the statistic. This is like backdrops for a play. Let's say that we're doing King Lear. Right? So there's a woods and there's an whatever. And into the scene comes Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood doesn't belong in King Lear. So the person just literally doesn't see Little Red Riding Hood. Doesn't see it. Doesn't penetrate it. Doesn't stick. So, then the question gets to be, how do you activate a frame into which the reality of our country today fits? It doesn't fit in this model. It doesn't fit in this model at all. It does fit in this model. Because this model is the one where we can unify ourselves behind the very most traditional American values, the values we cherish: equality, justice, liberty. They're all under there, and none of them are under here. None of them. So, how do we do this? Are you with me so far? Let me ask you, does anybody have like a big question right now? Or even a little one? No? Okay. So the task, here's the task. All right, this is where we're going to go from we're doing the right thing, just not enough of it or not well enough, to we need to do something completely different. And this is the something completely different. What we have to do is figure out how to activate the nurturing parent model around politics. So what would you guess you have to do?